Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here in our stream. I'm Will Dupree in the KXAN live studio. You're looking live outside the Austin Police Headquarters in downtown Austin, where a assistant chief is going to talk about election safety plans. We have been asking around our newsroom today if police have held something like this before. And none of us can really think of a time that the police department had stepped forward to talk about safety plans during the election period. Of course, today is the first day of early voting here in Texas. Let's take a listen as this gets underway.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Chacon, C-H-A-C-O-N. I'm an assistant chief with the Austin Police Department. I'll be talking to you today about what the Austin Police Department is doing to prepare for this election cycle, and specifically, some of the concerns that have been brought up about security at polling places and so forth. I want to start off today by talking about that we are, you can see I'm wearing pink today, and we are definitely very mindful and supportive of Breast Cancer Awareness Month and are trying to highlight that. And we have a lot of our officers, and we've authorized them to wear the pink undershirts for this month. So thank y'all for being here, and we'll go ahead and get this started. I wanted to just talk a little bit about what the police department has done first in preparation for this, and then we can answer any questions that you might have. So I think a lot of questions have come up regarding what we can expect today and what, if any, actions that the police department is going to be taking in preparations for the polls opening for early voting today. I want to start out by saying that the police department is not stationed nor actively observing any of the polling locations. As we have in years past, we are notifying all of our officers of where the polling locations are. We anticipate long lines with this being a presidential election, and they have the ability to go by, kind of do a directed patrol, or just keep an eye to make sure that everything looks good with the lines that might extend well off the property, the premises of the polling location. However, they are not there to take any other action besides that, and to just kind of make sure that the peace is being maintained. Every polling location has an election judge that has been set up and is actively keeping an eye on that polling location to make sure that all the rules are being followed by the people that are coming to vote. Any poll watchers that might be there to ensure that a fair and equitable campaign is being run, and that people are able to go and vote without intimidation, without any undue influence that's against the rules or anything like that. But that is all being done by Travis County and the election judges that are at those polling locations. Those judges certainly understand the election law and understand when it would be appropriate to call law enforcement. And so in that vein, we would be working with, depending on where it's located, Travis County potentially, or Austin Police Department might respond if there is a disturbance, or if there is something else that's happening. For instance, somebody's been asked to leave and they don't want to leave, then it might be appropriate for APD to go ahead and respond, and we would in those certain cases. But apart from that, APD really does not have an active role in the site security necessarily, other than just to maintain the peace. As we lead up, I apologize, my voice is kind of going out a little bit. As we lead up to November 3rd, we do anticipate very big crowds. There has certainly been talk on social media and in the general media about is it possible there might be unrest. I can tell you that we have no specific information here at the Austin Police Department of anything that is set to happen at any of our polling locations or on any specific dates or anything like that. But I can certainly tell you that the Austin Police Department will be prepared should something like that pop up unannounced. During the actual week of the election, that week our department will be on what we call tactical alert, which means that every officer in the department, regardless of where they work, will be in uniform and will have their equipment and ready to respond wherever necessary. if a protest or some kind of unrest or something that were to become unlawful were to occur. We certainly respect people's right to peacefully assemble and to be able to voice their opinions. They just have to do it within the law. And we're just here to balance that right against public safety, and that's certainly what we're trying to do. So we are adequately staffed for the next 2 weeks and going into that week of the election to be able to make sure that we're keeping the community safe. With that, I'll just kind of open it up to any questions that y'all might have.
Is there anything that's ever happened in the past during election season that has warranted police attention at a polling location?
I missed the second half of your question.
Is there anything that's happened in the past that's warranted police attention at a polling location, like voter intimidation, where you guys would have to show up?
Not that I'm aware of, but it is something that we always plan for. And we want to make sure that people have the ability to exercise their First Amendment, or their constitutional right to be able to go and be able to cast a vote and be able to do it in safety without intimidation.
Did today have any of the election judges called APD with any reports of any disturbances?
To date, they have not.
If you don't do get calls on disturbances or anything like that, what type of priority call will that be?
It depends on what kind of disturbance it is. If it is for instance, somebody has been asked to leave and they refuse to leave, is there violence involved? And those type of things will determine the kind of the priority that the call receives. But it is certainly something that we would probably highly prioritize right now, given that we know that there are a lot of people at the polls, and we want to make sure they're able to go and safely vote.
What should someone do if they feel intimidated at a polling location?
The best thing that they can do is to figure out who's in charge of that polling location, the election judge, and go ahead and bring it to their attention so that they are able to properly address it.
And you said that officers aren't actively stationed at polling locations, but do you guys know if there's any security at all?
If there's any security, is that what you asked?
Yeah.
That would be something Travis County would probably be able to let you know, because I'm not too sure if they've hired somebody else or not.
How often would you say the officers on patrol would be coming by a location, coming by a polling location?
So we certainly ask them to do it as much as they're able to, and as call load allows. And so there's not a given number that we tell them that they have to minimally go by or anything. It's just when they have the ability, given what they're doing.
I know you said you'll have officers on standby the week of the actual election. Are y'all prepared to have any during this first 2 weeks, kind of anything major happens, or what are y'all preparations for these first 2
Yeah,
weeks?
as I mentioned before, we're going to be adequately staffed. Our officers, particularly on patrol, are ready to go wherever we need them to go. Have all their equipment with them in the vehicle, and if we have any kind of big incidents that occur at a polling location or anything like that, we would be able to adequately respond to that. What we are anticipating, obviously, that particular week is bigger kind of crowds that are coming out for the election as we come up to Election Day.
So you mentioned that officers will be on tactical alert. So is it fair to say that they'll be on tactical alert throughout until November 3rd?
No, only the actual week of will we be on tactical alert. If circumstances change between now and then to where it would be appropriate to change that, then we would do it. But for right now, we do feel that we have the adequate staffing on patrol and with the people that we have on duty throughout the city to handle anything that might come.
Last question.
Assistant Chief, that adequate staffing, does that mean that you moved or increased staffing to create that adequate staffing level?
So we always maintain minimal staffing levels on patrol to begin with, to make sure that we're able to handle all the 911 calls that are coming in. Every patrol command knows what that staffing level is. We have not brought in additional staffing beyond that, but we make sure that we do have what we need so that we feel comfortable answering those calls and responding if we need to.
What's another instance of a reason outside of the election for officers to be on a tactical alert?
So we go on tactical alert pretty regularly. I won't say often, but but on a regular basis for really big events. So South by Southwest, the Austin City Limits Music Festival, things that bring a lot of people into town, or we know that we're going to have large gatherings, we will go on tactical alert to make sure that we have adequate resources. So this is not unusual. All right. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry.
If you don't need Spanish, you can take your equipment. We're gonna take it to a little break so they can get their equipment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Will Dupree once again here in the KXAN live studio. We are wrapping up that news conference now with the Assistant Police Chief talking about what the police department is doing exactly during this voting period. Early voting, of course, beginning today in person here in Texas and lasting through October 30th. The election ends on November 3rd. Of course, that is Election Day. So what the police are saying at this point is that they are wanting to lay out what they might be doing in the event that something should happen, maybe like unrest or a protest or something like that. The police did say that they are encouraging officers to, drive by during their patrols to certain polling locations. They've shared those locations with officers at this point. And they're saying that what they really should look for at this point during the early voting is that because of how long the lines have been, just to make sure that those lines are not, going out into a street or blocking traffic or putting people at risk as they're waiting to get inside to cast their ballot. They said they are not there to provide security at particular locations. However, they should respond if the need would arise and something is brought up at a particular polling location. Of note, though, they did say that during the week of the election, so again, that week of November 3rd, around that time, the police department will be on tactical alert. So every officer in uniform will have equipment to respond if the need should arise, and the police asserting that they will be adequately staffed at that time to maintain that tactical alert during the week of the election. The police did say that that is not unusual for them. They do this for normally big events like the Austin City Limits Music Festival or South by Southwest or something to that effect. So they are doing it this time for the week of the election. If you would like to find out more resources about the election, we have a whole lot of them over on our website, kxan.com, and handy on your smartphone if you have the KXAN News app downloaded, so I'll encourage you to do that if you have not done so already. Once again, I'm Will Dupree here in the KXAN Live Studio. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Please stay safe and stay healthy, and get out there and vote. Early voting again lasts until October 30th, and Election Day is on November 3rd. We'll see you back here another time.